And we are live.
Yes.
How are we flipping Steve?
I'm doing good.
I feel like it's been like a month, even though it's been 2 weeks.
It has been 2 weeks, but it's been about a month since I put out a video. That's what you're missing in your life right there.
There we go.
Yeah, unfortunately. So it's always something, work's completely changed my schedule. So I'm working overnights. I go in at like 9 p.m. now till 5 in the morning.
Oh my God.
So that's completely flipped on my head again. It was going in the morning. So I'm still adjusting to that.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah. You made it. We'll let some folks filter in here a little bit. We got Dave G. What's going on, brother? Sports card swag. And of course, the legend himself, Brendan Ryan, providing all of everything else. Cody, what's going on, dude? You might have noticed that we are missing our third amigo. He flaked out after Steve beat him down in fantasy football this week. Steve, do you want to tell that story before I share what Neo's up to?
Well, yeah. Well, we had been talking. We knew Neo was going to be away this week, but he said, hey, I might be able to pop into the live stream from, my hotel or whatever. He was like, I should be able to be there for a little while. Now, of course, this was before the 50-point beatdown I put on him in fantasy football this week. So I think that might have a little bit to do with why he has decided to come up with a reason to not be able to show up tonight. Now, we knew he was out of town. That's one thing. But I guess I wouldn't want to come face the music either. I've got the gauntlet here, and I'm filling it up. I beat Dakota, and I beat Hambone right here in the red, and I beat Ziggy right here in the yellow. So it's time to go ahead and add Neo right here. So there's Neo. You're going to go here this week. All right. And then I'm saving the big one here for Jeff Wilson. And then it's going to be all complete.
We got a lot to talk about tonight.
I'm running the gauntlet on you guys right now, literally.
Yeah, I have one win this season in fantasy football, and that only win is against Neo. So he's doubly upset with us right now. He's losing all over the place to us. So he is currently at the New York ComicCon, and we are in luck because actually he has sent over his cosplay costume. I was surprised. I was like, wow, okay, well, I didn't think he was going to necessarily share. And actually, I don't even know if it started yet. But he is already in full costume. If we can get the picture, I don't know if everybody can see this, but
there he is.
Apparently, yeah, he's Captain America-ing. So yeah, that's our boy out there.
I thought that was a mix between Mario and Captain America. Maybe not.
Yeah, you know what? And I was like, where'd you get, how did you put that all together? I mean, just looks like a lot of effort and everything. He's like, oh, you haven't seen anything yet. I actually, a few years back, met Stan Lee, and I was like, wait, say what now? So he sent the picture of him and Stan Lee. Incredible.
Oh, yeah, there he is. There's our boy.
Incredible stuff. I mean, just look at the work that went into that Wolverine. Yeah.
Where's his claws?
Yeah, it looks like he skimped a little bit on the claws from what I can tell, but
yeah,
he's a big X-Men fan. Look at the shoulder pads.
He looks like he's ready to line up for some fantasy football in that picture.
Stan Lee looks like he can't get out of there fast enough.
Ooh.
Oh man.
All
right. We got our jabs in, but that really was him. That wasn't a joke. That was actually really Rob. That's our boy Neo out there in New York at the New York ComicCon. Breathable fabric. That's the way to put it, Brendan. Yeah, no, that's the full physique. That's not. Yeah, he filled it out exactly how he is. That's not. There's no.
I believe that was a one piece too, right? Was that a one piece?
I don't know. We're gonna have to. You know what? We'll have a whole recap when he gets back in 2 weeks.
He's had to step into the back of it and have it zipped up.
He can talk us through that thing because that was incredible. All right. Steve, who was your first round pick? I'm assuming this is fantasy. This is a fantasy question.
Okay. So my first round pick was Austin Eckler. So I had him in week 1 and I've gone 3-1 without him now. So to go 3-1 without Eckler, but I can't catch a break. As soon as Eckler comes back, Devon A-Chain gets hurt, right? Now, I've only ridden him for a week or two, but both of my running backs that were my RB1 and 2, Javonte Walker on Denver, Austin Eckler, are both hurt. So I've been winning without my RBs or much running back production, except A-Chain. But when I get fully healthy with Eckler and A-Chain, I didn't even start Justin Fields this week, and I won by 50. I started Jordan Love, so I got no quarterback production. So,
well, my first round pick was Nick Chubb, so that tells you where we're at. Yeah,
I had him in another league too.
Unbelievable. All right, let's just fire it off. Let's start it off with the big news of the week. The huge announcement that was made on, what was it, Sunday night? Jeff Wilson is opening up his own card shop. I have known about this for a little while. But what are your initial thoughts, Steve, and how often are you flying down from Delaware to visit this thing?
Okay, so I'm going to be upfront and honest. I haven't even watched what the whole show is, or the shop is detailed about. Okay. I looked at the pictures. You know, I'm the kind of guy who likes to like go through a book and look at the pictures, and then I'll go back and read later. But I was just excited about the announcement. You know, I've never, I don't want to say I've never been like hugely for or against Jeff Wilson. I'm just a neutral person here. You know, he's kind of like one way or the other, it seems like, but I thought that this was pretty cool. Just because it gives something else to do. Like, I want to go to Atlanta anyway. So we have Culture Collision and things like that. And I don't think the shop will be ready by then. Like I said, I don't know the details about it because I didn't get into the details.
He did announce, so he did a video last night kind of interviewing. He did the It's Jeff Wilson show interviewing the two guys that are doing it with him. And they said they're targeting, that's their goal, is to open the same weekend as Culture Collision. And I'm setting up there. You're coming, I hope. And
yeah, I'd like to. And you know what it was? You know why I kind of thought it was cool? Because I guess for me, the announcement lived up to the hype, the build. Because we've seen things in the past, even with Jeff in the past, where, hey, I have a major announcement, or hey, I have this, hey, I have that. And then when it's announced that, but this I just thought was cool because I like card shops. I like going to card shops, and I would like to see what it's all about. Now, I might formulate a different opinion after I actually saw it. It may be better, maybe worse. I don't know, but it was intriguing to me. Like the announcement came out, and I was like, "Holy crap! He's going to build a big old card shop. That's pretty cool." So yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. And again, not as somebody that's like a Jeff fanboy or anything, it just feels like he has a lot of pushback, but he keeps on progressing. If that makes any sense, or doesn't sound too like, he just, I guess he just, it just
doesn't phase him, or he's having continued success,
or it's just easy for him to put things in the rear view and keep focusing ahead.
Okay. I think that's probably fair. Yeah, I mean, the one thing is, I think he, along with a lot of content creators, adjust content as time goes on, so, content's changed quite a bit over the last 3 years from all involved. I mean, you could, for me, I guess for you, it's probably been fairly similar, but you've always kind of, the backbone of your channel has always been buying and selling, what you're buying and selling, how you're doing it. Mm-hmm. That's really been kind of your shtick, the whole way through. But you also have been kind of creating content like as you feel like it, type thing. Been consistent, but you've also had breaks in between and stuff. So
yeah, and like that again, that kind of touches on why I haven't put out a video in a while because I'm staying in the loop and all with the hobby, but I'm not doing a lot of transacting. I don't have a lot of stuff to show people on mail days. I do have about 5 or 6 cards. I did buy a pretty big card by my standards last week. In fact, here's the redemption. I bought a redemption card. Can't see it. Look at that. I'm not going to show you, but that's a redemption card. So it's sitting here on my computer desk because I sent in, I redeemed it with Topps, but I just haven't had a lot to really show. And I have different thoughts on the things that are going on, and I usually talk about that stuff on my way to work in the car, but it's kind of hard to do now at night at 9 p.m. when I'm going to work and it's dark, and you wouldn't even be able to see me shooting a video. And in the day, I haven't had time to sit up and set up and do a video and edit it and things like that. And by the time I did, it would kind of be old, by the time I finished a video, because it's going to take me a day or two, probably what I'd be talking about would not even be interesting.
We did have a question. Hold on, let me go back. It was about what are we buying? Josh, are we behind on chat yet? Not yet, but stay tuned. Stay tuned. Everyone's, yeah. Man, Brian, Helix Band. I know it's you, Brian Sherlin. Don't even try with that Helix Band. Yeah, he's all about his Suns and his D-backs, his Arizona teams.
Yeah, I'm an Orioles fan. We got swept after being like the best team in the American League, it seemed like. But that's what youth does, right? Youth wins games, but they lose they lose when it counts. That's what kind of young players do right now. None of them have really been part of a playoff caliber team, and they got there and got swept, man. It was just happened so fast. I had to ask my dad and my brother today if the Orioles were still in it.
So one thing here, I think the one big differentiator that I saw or that I heard with Jeff's shop is the plan to live sell 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So the store will not be open to outside customers 24/7, but the plan is to run live streaming sales 24/7, 365. So whether that be singles or I assume breaks with product or whatever that's going to look like, they will have staff that is running that 24/7. So that's something, because some people might say like, okay, card shop, whatever, like a card shop's a card shop. But to me, that's something that kind of stood out as, okay, that's something that's a little bit different. I don't know of another brick and mortar that does that, but maybe there is. I just don't like. I'm pretty certain that Burbank doesn't do that. I'm just trying to think of larger shops. I don't think that Card Collector 2 does that. I know he does live sell. I know he does live streaming selling, but not 24/7. But
no, I mean, would this live stream selling be like on a platform, or is it going to be a own platform created from the shop?
No, well, that's a good question, I guess. But I just assumed that it was going to run off of one of the selling platforms, one of the major ones. But that's a good question, I guess. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's through the SCI website, but no, I think that it's probably, I think it's probably through one of the major platforms.
Maybe we can hand out the fantasy football championship at his shop. Everybody meets there. You guys present me with my ring and my trophy, and we go ahead and, we do the giveaway for the national. So, it's going to be so great.
And the location, it is nearby that Brave Stadium. There's a ton of traffic over in that area. I'm not like, Atlanta is such like, it's like a labyrinth to me trying to drive through it, or I don't know.
Oh yeah. I rode with you to the aquarium. I know.
Oh my God.
We were going reverse down one-way streets and back around corners. And
I can't stand driving in Atlanta. I can't stand it. But yeah, he's got it. It's a good location spot. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens. It'll be good for content and content creators. Content creators will be reacting their little butts off. I'll be one.
Hey, Ziggy's got a comment down here that I want to talk about. It says the Sam Darnold one.
Oh, okay.
And it's not bashing the Sam Darnold cards. Actually, what I'm going to do is retract a little bit on my opinion. Well, it's too late to retract. I had given an opinion on Brock Purdy, and I was wrong. Now, I never thought Sam Darnold would take Brock Purdy's job. I thought Brock Purdy might get banged up or something, and then Sam Darnold might get a chance to play. By the way, there's Sam Darnold cards. I'm already good. I already broke even. So, but man, I watched Brock Purdy play in that Dallas game, and I thought Dallas had a really good defense, and maybe it was just an off night. I really don't know, but man, he throws a football a lot better than I thought that he did. I didn't think he could throw a long ball. Now, he gets really good protection. He's got good weapons, but you can't fault somebody for that. He's still making the throws. So I'm not going to buy Brock Purdy cards because they're expensive, but just from somebody who watches sports and can appreciate somebody who's playing well, I need to respect Brock Purdy a little bit more. I thought he was just strictly somebody that was in a good system.
Yeah. System quarterback.
But he can actually make some throws. So, Yeah, and it took me watching him and playing fantasy football and stuff. Maybe last year I just didn't pay attention to it as much towards the end of the season because I don't watch the Niners, and I'm on the East Coast, so we don't hardly get the Niners, you know. But man, he just looked good the other night in that was a big time game against what was supposed to be another big time team, and he looked really good. So I wouldn't even wish
He's never lost a regular season
right.
game.
I wouldn't even want him to get hurt now for the sake of me to be able to make money on Sam Darnold cards, because I wouldn't want to wish injury on somebody just for monetary gain. And he's playing good. See, I think one thing about me being a Dolphins fan is that I despise Tom Brady, and I never wanted to appreciate what Tom Brady was doing when he was playing. I wanted to hate. I was a straight hater, right? Haterade drinking fool. Okay. I just wanted to hate on Tom Brady. He's not any good. He's a product of the system.
Right.
So he got lucky.
Yeah.
This, that, and the other. It's the coach.
It was always the coach and the defense.
And through like most of his career, that was my viewpoint, especially being a Dolphins fan and a huge rival. And now I'm just like, man, I should have just enjoyed it for what it was. And I did towards the end of his career, like his last 2 Super Bowls.
I did, because you played for the wrong team. But yeah.
But I did the same thing with Michael Jordan, being a Celtics fan in the 90s. Like, I just wanted Jordan to lose so bad. I wanted I was tired of the Bulls winning. And then I watched The Last Dance, and I'm sitting there, you know, with my wife, and I'm like, man, I was like, I lived this moment, but I didn't enjoy it in the moment. I'm really enjoying it now, seeing it over again in a documentary. I was like, but man, if I would have lived in that moment and really appreciated what he was doing at the time, it'd have been that much better.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. It is kind of a weird thing. I was a Tom Brady hater forever, but and you know what? I'm kind of getting to that point with Patrick Mahomes, because I'm starting to get tired of it. Now it's like, okay, you've been to 5 AFC championship games in a row. You won 2 titles. I want to see Burrow. I want to see Allen. I want to see somebody else. I want to see Herbert. I want to see Derek Carr.
With me, I was a Dolphins fan. Marino retired. So then from a player standpoint, I was a Peyton Manning fan. So yeah. Okay. So it was kind of like the double-edged sword. Brady's beating the Dolphins. And if it wasn't for Brady, Manning probably has 2 or 3 more rings, right? So, you know, it was just kind of that right there.
Brendan, I think the big thing with this too, and I'm guessing, I haven't talked to Jeff about this specifically with the virtual card shopping, is because he's mentioned a couple different times is being able to sell globally. So I think that there's kind of a bet on not just kind of like however many people are on Whatnot or Fanatics Live or whatever, but that whole piece growing out, you know, to where, okay, you're actually selling to people in Asia and shipping cards to Japan or whatever. I think that there's kind of an assumption that part grows as well. And I'm guessing, I'm completely speculating, but that's just kind of what I'm thinking. And then also Ziggy made a comment down here about pricing. Do you think Jeff's prices can compete with Blowout, Dave Adams, etc.? I'm almost wondering too, if he just has to get close enough to these companies, even if he's not beating them, but just creating an experience. He keeps talking about the experience. So it's kind of like, okay, are you willing to pay a few extra bucks, maybe if you can't beat them on price, just to be a part of it, you know, just to be a part of the thing, you know, if he can build out a good experience. It's going to be interesting to watch. He made it out, the video that came out tonight when he was talking to the other co-founders, co-owners, he was talking about how they were going through the process of getting allocation. So I think there was a lot of assumption that, you know, hey, he's just going to be lockstep, you know, he's just going to get a ton of allocation. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, not based on the video that he just put out. It was kind of more of like, we're in that process now, probably in negotiations, you know, so there's probably a little ways to go. They had an initial space, they said, where they had 2 breaking stations, and now they have room for 6. So there's going to be plenty of plenty of breaks, probably personal breaks / you know, all of, you know, and it's all gonna be on camera too, you know, so it's gonna be the allocation, but it's also gonna be personal breaks, and it's all gonna be filmed. You know, it's gonna be like, I was joking with them when I first heard of this. This is gonna be like the Truman Show, you know, for cards. It's gonna be like, you know, it's gonna be like it's gonna be like a reality TV show is how I envision it. It's gonna be like the Kardashians, except it's probably gonna be like the Wilsons, following around, in the shop. I'm curious to see how they're going to do that with all the cameras. Is it, like how they're going to film it and how they're going to present it. I'm interested in seeing how they're going to do that.
Right. And I don't know how all that allocation and things work. And, like Ziggy's comment here about the grandfathered allocations and all that.
Right.
I don't know. No one knows what Fanatics is going to do. How much are they going to allocate? Are they going to allocate at all? Have they said that they have?
Well, and it's not really clear cut because, it used to be like, okay, you just make good with the distributors. And as long as you have kind of an in with the distributors, then you can get, allocation, maybe get some side benefits and that sort of thing. It sounds to me more, though, that it's now direct accounts with Tops or direct accounts with Fanatics or whatever, and cutting out a lot of that distribution. But how they come up with who gets what and how much and all that, I have no idea if that's public or what. I don't know if they've even figured all that out yet.
Some of the comments are funny.
Is it making fun of how am I behind? I'm not too far behind.
No, I don't think anybody said you're behind yet. I don't know where that comment number was.
I'm tired of the Blazers losing. Yeah. And now Dame's gone. So it's kind of like, well,
it's a fresh start, right? I guess. If he says he's tired of the Blazers losing, were losing prior to Dame being traded. So, I remember when the Blazers had some good teams like 90s, Clyde Drexler and like Terry Porter, Kevin Duckworth, Jerome Kersey. I can remember that whole squad.
So U.S. sports cards, Fanatics might be short-term in cards, but long-term in autographs. Can't imagine Fanatics understood how fickle the hobby can be. So I've heard from a few different people, and again, this kind of against speculation, that they had seen Michael Rubin at that local Philly card show for years. So I don't know if Michael Rubin is brand new to the card market. I wonder if he's actually kind of had a little bit of a finger on the pulse for a while. I'm not saying that he's some long-term hobbyist or anything, but I don't think that he is brand new to the idea of sports cards and sports collectibles and memorabilia stuff at all. I don't think he's brand new to it. I think he had a plan for going in, for a while as far as getting all the licenses and stuff. I just do. The biggest thing for me is is it more about an IPO or is it about, the collector and so forth, because it's been thrown out there that Fanatics wants to IPO. And I don't know if that's just speculation by news people, by stock people, but there's been a lot of talk about that. And so is this just kind of another, the whole, Tops acquisition, the whole card collectible space, is that just another, infinity stone to IPO at a higher rate? I don't know. Steve, what are your thoughts on that? Or do you want to shift gears? We can move off of this topic if you'd like.
Yeah, we can shift gears. We talked about Jeff's thing enough.
We're talking about, we should get over to Fanatics. So you don't.
Yeah, we talked about Fanatics too, but
Steve, again, how much Steve loves hobby news.
Yeah, I don't, like I said,
he loves it, man.
And my time's limited. I got to pick and choose what I watch. And typically it's not a lot of hobby news. It changes too much. It's always something new and it's always this, it's always that. It's just kind of like, man, I'll see what happens at the end because everybody's speculating right now. So it's what's going to happen and the companies and the lawsuits and things like that. Nothing's even settled with any. It's just something new every day. Before anything gets settled, it's something new.
Steve doesn't want to watch the OJ trial. He just wants to hear the verdict read at the end. Is kind of what he's getting at. He doesn't. Yeah,
well, the Cato Kalin part. Can we get that again?
Yeah. He doesn't want the bloody glove testimony. He doesn't want, any of that stuff.
Right. But for me, there is no card shops in my area. So just hearing about, just gives something else to do. Like if you're in that area, I don't know if I would go there I'm going to fly to Atlanta to go to Jeff's card shop. You know what I mean? But yeah, just like if I was in California, I'd make it a point to go to Burbank, but I wouldn't go to California strictly for a show or a shop. I would have to be out there for a reason prior. And then I would make it a point to see it while I was there.
Fair enough.
But yeah,
I'm still buying Tom Brady stuff. Speaking of Tom Brady, I made a video today about Barry Bonds, and everybody literally like flopped onto the ground and started crying and screaming.
I saw the thumbnail. the secret of Barry Bonds or something.
Anytime you put "Forget Mickey Mantle" in your title, you're asking for it.
Oh, where's Mike Petty at? I saw him earlier, man. You know, get him going. So forget about Mickey Mantle.
Forget Mickey Mantle.
Forget about it.
No. So, and that's fine if you don't like the Barry Bonds play. That's totally fine. And by the way, like, this is not me saying like, oh, like I think everyone should buy this stuff. It actually doesn't help me when I'm going like if I'm an influencer that's moving prices and I want to go buy stuff, it doesn't help me to go and talk about it. It would help me to buy it first and then talk about it.
Man, the people in the comments know better than to do what you do.
Okay.
They know better. But I'll say, from a buying standpoint, and this could have to do with the economy. It could be, lack of disposable income and things like that. And I want to do a video on this. I just don't know if I get to it. So I'll talk about it now. I think that there's buying opportunity right now, but I think it's buying opportunity for collectors. Like, I'm not saying it's a buying opportunity to go in and buy Josh Allen because you're going to be able to sell him for more money at the end of the season. So that's not what I'm getting at, but I'm saying there's opportunity on items. I'm feeling like there's some nice items going up for auction on eBay, items that I've searched for a year or two that I've wanted in my PC, and they're starting to hit auctions. And I don't know if it's because people are just tired of them, if people are trying to cash out, if people are in need of money. So they're like, man, I got this card in my collection, but I need to pay the bills. So I don't know what it is, but it's causing some cards that I have looked for. And I can run down my list of eBay watch lists. A lot of it's not sports related, but it's cards that I've looked for the past 2 years. They just don't surface much. One was the Kevin Costner card that I talked about 2 weeks ago, so we won't spend a lot of time on that. But that was just an example because I haven't seen that card on eBay for 3 years, and all of a sudden it pops up. Now, I thought at first, okay, maybe this is an anomaly. This card just happened to surface. But I'm starting to see it with more cards, more rare items, low print run stuff, autograph stuff, high, low probability pack pool odds, things like that. So, I think there's some opportunity out there to finally get some cards that you've been looking for your collection, because people are willing to part with them right now, or having to part, willing to or having to, whatever the case may be. I'm not really sure.
But now,
this could just be coincidence for what I'm looking at. But
you're not talking about necessarily. You mentioned Josh Allen, but you're not talking about sports cards. You're talking about mainly kind of like niche, non-sports, like autos and stuff.
Or just anything. Just anything. I'm not talking about cards to flip.
Yeah, more collector style cards.
I'm talking about cards that usually find their landing place with the individual to be kept and held onto for a while, and it's just cards that you just don't see them. Like, I'll give you one or two examples from my eBay watch list.
Okay, my dog's going to bark for a second because the fam is.
That's all right. That's what dogs do.
Spritzel's going to lose her mind.
Anyway, I'm a big Tony Hawk fan, and I have his Allen and Ginter on card auto, which you can find, but his Goodwin's Champions from 2015. Where he signed Tony Hawk, and then he scribed 25 of them with Birdman. The Tony Hawk collectors out there, there's 25 of that card. The Tony Hawk collectors out there do not sell that card if they have it in their collection. They just don't. It's a card that a Tony Hawk collector normally has, and it stays in their collection. And this one had hit auction last week, and a BGS 9 Auto 10.
Can't see it, Steve. It's kind of sideways. Yeah, there's a glare.
There's just a glare.
Okay. Yeah, I can get a feel.
But it's the Tony Hawk Goodwin's Champions Birdman. Now, to me, that's a cool card. I'm not saying, hey, everybody, look at this awesome Tony Hawk card. But what I'm saying is that's a card that if you're thinking from a collector standpoint of someone who collects Tony Hawk, that's not a card that if I had, I would put up for sale unless I absolutely had to get rid of it. And I'm finding more cards like that out there because I don't know if people need cash, or if they're looking to move into other items, whether it be other collectibles, whether it be commodities, whether, maybe they're just looking to free up income for whatever reason. I really don't know. But there's just more. The Allen and Ginter Mike Tyson on-card auto surf. That's one of his best ones. Mike Tyson has signed a ton of stuff, but for some reason, his Allen and Ginter on-card auto, you don't see it come up for sale hardly ever. And one of those sold last week. That was like two. Of course, the Kevin Costner card that I talked about already last week.
Sorry, my dog is drinking really loud.
Yeah. There was a big one.
You want to come say hi, Rhea? No?
No.
Don't step on the internet cable. All right.
But yeah, just cards that I look for quite a bit for my collection, and
finally popping up.
They're finally popping up for sale.
It's like those Stranger Things cards. I know people are like, "Oh my God, Stranger Things autographs," but the season 1, season 2 on card stuff, they don't pop up unless they're sitting there, buy it now, on eBay for 20 grand or something. But to find one pop up on auction is awesome. When it finally pops up, I've been buying those for a year and 4 months now, and they don't pop up that much, but when they do, it's a fun chase.
Yeah, and the thing is about some of these cards is they still do go for pricey. I'm not saying that they're cheap. So that's not my thing. Maybe that's what I'm getting at. It's not necessarily that cards are surfacing, rare, nice collectible cards are surfacing for cheap, but they're being made available. And I feel like for the last couple of years, they haven't been being made available.
My whole thing with Bonds Orlando, and I think that you understood what I was talking about, a collector's dream Orlando, is I feel like Mickey Mantle is like, is it a great time to be buying Mickey Mantle cards? They've gone up so much. He's on such a massive pedestal, and I'm not saying that he won't always, maybe he always will be, but for me getting in now in vintage baseball, I think Mantle, although he's kind of like the top tier guy that you probably would want to buy into, with Babe Ruth, it's just like, man, I just don't know if I'm getting any sort of value out of it. And I understand if you just want to own it, that's one thing. But if I do care about, values, I look at a guy like Barry Bonds, and he's not Mickey Mantle. I'm not saying he's Mickey Mantle, but a lot of his stuff a lot of great stuff is not anywhere near the price points, and so that's kind of a fun chase, just kind of diving into the Barry Bonds market and just seeing what's out there, and whether it be autograph, game used type cards, or if it's just cool refractors or Tiffany rookies or whatever it is. So yeah, I think that you understood what I meant though. Some people didn't get it. They thought that I was saying like Barry Bonds over Mickey Mantle, but it was more of just kind of a timing thing. 5 years ago, I would say Mickey Mantle because, the market had not, quadrupled, or whatever, 10x'd. But yeah, so that was my point today with Bonds.
Well, you're down here at 9:33. I don't want to touch on Ziggy's comment about Rubin. I don't know much about Michael Rubin. I do know a lot about the Philly card show, though.
Philly show. Okay, this one?
Yes. So it says the Philly show is an auto show. So, with Philly players, which it is, it's a hometown auto show.
That could be. Maybe years ago he was there for autos. Sure.
But here's the thing, like either myself or my uncle, we go to that show every single time. I didn't go to the last one. My uncle did because he's an autograph guy. So yeah, it does make sense. And he's a Philly fan. So he likes it when Mike Schmidt's there, Dr. J is there. Typically that show is a lot of people you may only know if you were a Philadelphia fan, though. Like a lot of what I would say the undercard, you know what I mean? You have your 3 big signers or so, but then you have a bunch of just Philly players, whether they played for the Sixers, the Flyers, the Phillies, whatever, Eagles. I would now, and it's not a huge autograph show, right? They held the show right there in the small bottom basement of the casino with the card show itself. So it wasn't huge. Now, and I'm not saying that Ziggy's wrong here, but what I'm saying is it would definitely be if he was showing up at the Chantilly show. because the Chantilly show is a huge, huge, huge autograph show. It has more signers. It has better signers. It has all different walks of whatever, all sports, some pop culture. It has a little bit of everything when it comes to signing autographs there. It has a whole separate, almost autograph pavilion. I would probably say the Chantilly show has just as many signers or in a bigger signing area than the National has. I could be wrong because I didn't look at the autograph pavilion at the National this year, but I couldn't imagine it being much bigger. So Chantilly is a huge autograph show. So if this was coming off, if this comment was referring to the Chantilly show, I could say, yeah, I see that 100%. That's why he's in Chantilly every time they're there, because it is a huge, huge, huge autograph and memorabilia show. But Philly, even from a card standpoint, is very strong vintage, very small autographs when it comes to the list of signers, especially the popularity of the actual signers. Yeah, you might have 20 people sign throughout the weekend, but 3 of those are actually, going to make a lot of money. There's going to be a headliner each day, as opposed to like multiple headliners throughout the entire day, like in Chantilly. So if he's going to go to Philly, which is only a couple hours from Chantilly, and we're rhyming here, I'm getting tongue twisted, but I would think that he would make the trip to Chantilly if this was based around autographs and memorabilia. Now, maybe he's been there. That's something we would have to ask Jay, who we talked to on Instagram. I haven't been to the Chantilly show in a little while, but I did used to regularly go.
Cardboard heel. Dustin, do you ever get sick of being so hobby ethical? Well, I don't know if you're being sarcastic, but I do try to be as ethical as possible. I try. I think, Steve, you would probably say the same thing about yourself.
No.
Would you consider yourself hobby ethical?
Hobby ethical.
Tell you what, though, we like to. So with me, Neo, and Steve, we definitely make fun of each other and call each other out. So yeah, if we did something incredibly stupid, like bidding on our own auctions, for example, that would be a literal firestorm of shit talk. All right, go ahead.
I have not sold a card on eBay this year. How weird is that? I sold a lot of stuff at the National. I think I may have sold. I've sold some stuff on Instagram. I sold 2 cards on my slabs. I have not sold a card on eBay this year. I haven't done a ton of selling. The stuff that I wanted to sell, and the stuff that I wanted to sell was the stuff I intentionally bought at the beginning of the year to sell. And look at a couple of those players. Look at what Jordan Love was doing to begin the season. Right now, he's been playing like crap. But look at Jared Goff, man. I was buying and selling him Jared Goffs, and like Jared Goff, everybody's talking about the Lions and their offense and how good they are. Well, we'll see what happens. It's week 6 coming up, right? But still, just crazy that those are 2 of the quarterbacks that really seen price hikes, and the better quarterbacks haven't seen price hikes. If anything, they've seen a little bit of dips in their cards just because there was already so much built into them.
But, there's not quarterbacks really lighting it on fire this year. Have you noticed that? Like the first 5 games of the season, there's not one guy, that's really lighting it up stats-wise.
Well, I mean, Tua is. Josh Allen has got big stats. I feel like Mahomes' stats are down. Burrow's stats are down.
Yeah,
if we're just strictly talking stats, but
yeah, Tua would be the one that's exceeding expectations. But outside of Tua,
Brock Purdy
looks good.
We talked about earlier. Yeah, Jalen Hurts is starting to play really good again.
Yeah, I think I think it's just to me, it's Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Burrow. Those 3 guys are big hobby guys for cards.
Justin Herbert's playing big too. He's putting in big numbers.
But the team is just not kind of doing it. It's not really winning.
Well, yeah, but he's not. It's not because of him. I mean, he's still playing really good. I know when football you need to win. I know in football you need to win, but we're just talking about performance right now. As an individual, he's playing well.
But think about how much money is in those 3 guys. So take Herbert out of it, take Purdy out of it. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and
I know. I don't agree with their prices. I never have.
There's like 6-figure cards for these guys. I mean,
that's the monster the hobby has become on some of this stuff. But then look at some of them. I mean, Justin Fields has played a couple good games. but he was really bad to start the season, and he's on the Bears, right? Sam Howell. I mean, it's kind of like just pick a name and talk about it and say that they're going to be good. I guess that would be pumping, but that kind of seems like what has happened with a lot of players.
I haven't checked, but what's going on with Baker Mayfield?
I mean, Desmond Ritter.
Like, what about Baker Mayfield?
He's not playing bad. He's not playing bad. I mean, I think he's playing better than people thought. Tampa's offense has been better than people have thought. I mean, look, if you play fantasy football, Mike Evans was like a 7th round pick this year, when Mike Evans used to be like a third to 4th round pick, shoe-in high-end wide receiver 2, back-end wide receiver 1. This year he was being drafted as a flex at best. And he's put up huge numbers. He did pull a hamstring, miss some time, but he had some monster numbers for like the first 3 weeks. And that was people didn't think that Baker Mayfield would be able to support Mike Evans, especially with Chris Godwin there, but they've both played well. I think the Bucs have exceeded expectations to a point.
Yeah.
I'm not a Bucs fan, but I would, if I would talk to Michael Ham, he would probably think that they're playing better than, well, he may have thought they were going to do good anyway because he's a fanatic, but realistically speaking.
Yeah. You would think there'd be a drop off from Tom Brady.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Let's answer Dan's question here. Steve, what's your approach in the instance if the rare card pops up for the first time in years, but you feel it's overpriced? Well, this is because this is really all that you're looking at.
Yeah.
Now.
So, oh man, I got to talk about this. Okay. Whenever I buy anything, I have the price that I want to pay in mind. Sometimes if it's a card that I've been searching for my PC for a long time and it finally surfaces, I will exceed my price. I had a card surface on me, and when I saw this card go up for auction, it was like a 10-day listing, 9-day listing. When I found that it was 9 days left on it, I watched the whole 9 days, and I was like, okay, I'm a buyer at $1,500, which means I'm going to have to bid a little bit over $1,500 to secure my $1,500 bid, right? So this card gets pushed up. The bids are legit. I'm checking the bid history. That's another thing. If you're bidding, check the bid history. Make sure somebody's not shilling an auction up on you, and then you're just overpaying because somebody's shilling underneath you. So, I bid up to $1,800. I went $300 over my thing, and I lost. Okay. The thing about it is, when I lost this auction, I think I texted you guys.
Wait, $1,800 over your price or $1,800?
No. 300 over. I went to $1,800, but I had told myself in the beginning, I'm going to $1,500.
Okay.
Then I realized I wanted this card worse than that. Then I realized, then it got to $1,800. I was still in it. And then I was like, you know what? I got to be disciplined. I'm going to back off the card. And as soon as the card ended, I felt nauseous and sick to my stomach because I was like, I should have bid again. I wanted that card that bad. I should have bidded it again. I should have bid again. But I don't know who I'm bidding against. I could be bidding against a millionaire, and I'm never going to win that auction.
Right.
As much as I bid, they're just always going to bid more. So again, that was impulsive. It wasn't very smart. But even after losing the card and overbidding what I originally wanted to put on it, I felt nauseous that I didn't win it, because I know that I won't see that card again for a long time. I just know how long I looked for that card. So again, because it's a PC item, Dan, that's going to be very circumstantial to the individual. If you're looking at it as an investment or a flip or something like that, then you know that you have a certain price that you can spend because you know a certain price, or you're hoping to get a certain amount out of it. This was a card that all I was going to get out of it was enjoyment and being able to say that I have it in my collection. And so I had to find the value in that. I had to find the value, and I also had to cut it to where I wasn't caught up in the moment. Now that day is long and gone, and it's been a couple weeks and I lost that card, I feel fine. I don't regret not winning it. Would I love to have won it? Should I hit bid one more time? Maybe. I don't feel as bad as I did that day. But when you're approaching a PC card it's going to be different for everybody because everybody's going to have a different attachment to something on how bad that they want it. It's way different than if you're buying a card that you know that you want to sell within a certain time frame, whether that be a week or a month or a year.
Let me show you an example of this from me. So can you see my screen, Steve?
Yep.
All right. So Duffer Brothers on card auto right here, number 6 out of 10. This is the only on-card autograph that both brothers have on a card. So they do have a series 2. This is series 1, 2018. They do have a series 2. I've got that one as well, numbered out of 10, but it's stickers. So this is the only on-card auto. And actually it's the only dual auto in season 1, period, is this card. I paid $1,500 for it. And you're probably like, wow, why the hell would you do that? Well, let me show you why. Here's 2 of the other ones. They're asking 111,000 or best offer, and then this one is asking for 14,000 or best offer.
Oh, I see the little heart on that one. You must be watching that.
I'm watching all of them.
Oh, watching it. Well, the heart's not shaded in on the top one.
Yeah, I guess I'm not. I think this might be a new one. I don't know. But anyway,
see, you would rather spend $15K than
yeah. This is a tough decision. But that was my point. This card popped up at 2,500 or best offer, and I made a deal at $1,500 because I've been staring at this for months. This sort of thing where it's like, crazy high, and it's just so it popped up at 2,500. It's like, okay, well, let's see if we can make some sort of a deal on it. And before that card popped up, I was like, I'm not going to buy. I'll never buy this card. Like, I'll never have it. How do we even know that all 10 of them have been pulled? There might be the other 9 before I saw the others, they might be sitting in boxes somewhere. It might be in, another country or whatever, who knows?
Right.
So what's your take on this, Steve, right here? Do you think people are selling to cash out, leaving the hobby much smaller, or leaving the hobby in 6 months to a year? So my first thought, I think the next 6 months is going to be a little bit more liquidation stuff, where people are moving out of cards. That's just my initial, that's just my feeling based on kind of like what you were talking about. Cause I agree. I think people are selling off, but I also do think like what Orlando had talked about earlier is there's a lot of people buying though too, because people are moving off of cards. So but what do you think 6 months to a year, the environment, obviously we can't predict the future, but what does your gut tell you?
Well, is this relating to me saying that more, I guess, rare collectible type cards, at least in my opinion, that I like, have become available? Again, I don't know if people are necessarily cashing out. When I think of a cash out, I think of, I bought this much of this player with the intention of selling at a certain time, and I'm ready to cash out. That was my plan from the beginning. I think a lot of times when people's plan from the beginning is to get a PC card and hold on to it, a lot of times it's usually a last resort for them to sell it. And my thinking could be completely wrong. They could just be like, hey, I want cash. But a lot of times if people are well off and they have cash, they want the item because it means more to them than the money. It actually has some sort of attachment to it, right? I know there's going to be people that say, oh, I'm attached to Benjamin Franklin's. I get that all the time. But,
yeah,
just usually having something that you can that's a tangible collectible that you're like, oh, man, this is neat. I have one of them. There's not many of them out there. And it's probably going to hold its value. So I'm not, if ever I was in a pinch, I had to move it, I would. I think that there's cards like that. And those are the cards that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about I bought this prospect to sell. I bought this to sell. Or I just bought a bunch of random autographs and memorabilia cards to sell. I'm talking about cards that would be very specific and very personable to somebody. And they're going to be different for everybody because everybody's different. When I see those types of cards get listed, though, I say to myself, I would only sell this card if I absolutely had to. So because I have that thinking, maybe that's why I think maybe I think that's why the other person might be selling it. But again, I could be completely wrong because I just can't ask the seller, hey, have you fallen on hard times and your piecing out some of your PC? Or are you just done with the hobby altogether? I would think that the type of people that PC such important type cards would never just be completely done with the hobby unless there was like a drastic situation. Silence.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to get through the bevy of chat here.
Yeah, how far behind are we gone? Or where are we at now?
I'm only 13 minutes behind. No shade to Neo, but this should be the off-centered lineup. Neo offers some good flavor. I like having Neo on, especially in his out. Hopefully, he'll do his cosplay for the show moving forward.
Ziggy's got a good comment at 9:51. Now, I don't know where you are, but this is a good.
I'm 11 minutes behind that. For those that might be just tuning in, hold on. Do we have the? Hold on, guys. Sorry, we didn't get. Yes. Okay. Here we go.
Well, it kind of goes with what I was just talking about, so I'll just mention it real quick. He just says hobbyists are hibernating, not leaving, which makes good sense. People are.
Neo is at York ComicCon. He keeps sending me pictures, and I'm like, dude. I mean, we're happy for you that years ago you met Stan Lee, but you don't have to keep sending me pictures of you meeting him. Okay, but whatever.
Yeah, some people are just biding their time. I think waiting for the right opportunity or waiting for the right item, and they are probably buying less because they're being more selective. We've talked about this not too long ago about certain comic books and certain cards, how you would rather have one than many. Consolidating and things like that.
The one graded per month by PSA, and then you add up all the companies grading companies have never graded more cards ever than they are right now. So we have this kind of like, is it a lull? Is it where's this stuff? It's selling somewhere. It's selling somewhere. It's selling on a live streaming app. It's selling on Whatnot, or it's selling on eBay, or it's selling in a repack. It's selling somewhere or else they just wouldn't be grading these cards. They wouldn't be making money to be able to kind of, right? Or am I crazy? Or is this just people aren't selling them and they're having to, take losses, or what's the deal?
Right.
Because the other thing is, it's not even as if grading is as cheap as it was going back 3 years. Great, bulk grading at PSA was $8 in 2020 before they had to shut down. What the hell?
Well, yeah, she's all the way down in the other room, man. She's getting loud, getting hype.
Grading is technically if we're just talking about PSA, it's double or triple the price that it was in 2020, right as the boom was happening for bulk, and they're grading way more cards. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think there's multiple things that still go into why people grade so much. It does put a bit of a premium on a card if it grades well. But, with so many transactions being done online, at least you know what you're going to get. If somebody out there wants to get a card and, they care about condition and they have a third-party slab on there that tells them what the condition. Now, whether you guys think the grading companies grade with integrity or not, majority of the buyers out there believe the grade that they see, and it gives them security. What's the phrase I'm looking for? Anyway, they feel more safe buying a card that has a grade saying what the actual condition of the card is, as opposed to buying a card that's ungraded and not knowing what you're going to get. And that goes for collectors as well as people who are looking to resell.
I did talk to Brad today, Judson. Brad, the comeback card investor, is alive and well. He's still doing his thing out there in LA. So quick update on Brad. All is good. And is it something to where maybe, I know this has always been the case, but even more so today, where it's like you send in 20 cards, and if you get 3 or 4 PSA 10s, and it pays for the whole order, and then you just kind of sell off your 9s or your 8s or whatever and break even?
I don't know. I haven't graded in a while, except for the stuff I dropped off at the National that was for my PC. So I don't know.
John Williams has always been the Josh Allen machine. John Williams keeping it going. I just can't trust Josh Allen until he doesn't do something crazily stupid in the playoffs. I think that's really what it boils down to. Josh Allen always makes amazing, each week, always looking good. Well, I shouldn't say always. There's always a couple of head scratching plays, but he just does enough. He does more good than bad and makes up for it. But then the playoffs, that's the saddest game for me was when the Bills lost to the Mahomes-led Chiefs in the last 12 seconds of the game, because Josh Allen actually did step up and played really clutch in that game. And it just so happened that Mahomes had one last he had one last play left in him. But I felt bad for Josh Allen because I like him as a guy, like as a guy, he seems like a really good overall dude. Yeah, fair enough. Mahomes has separated. He has separated from Burrow and Allen for sure. Yeah, football there's not, there's never more parity than in the NFL. Absolutely right, Orlando. Throw out there if there's anything. I'm pulling a Neo and I'm skipping over some of the stuff.
Oh, I see. We don't have to avoid all of Wet Wipes' comments.
Okay. Oh, well, hold on. He asked you about.
He just asked me something right here. Or would he ask me something in the back further?
Oh, are you still cracking 8s worth 60 and selling raw for 100? Wet Wipes.
Only if Wet Wipes is buying.
Yeah.
Why? Only if you're buying.
Are you buying wipes?
Are you buying?
Megabid isn't for the faint of heart. Yeah. This is true, Orlando. I agree. I mean, for all the cards that we see where it's like the market's down, this and that, this is down, whatever. I mean, for certain cards, they just don't pop up, whether it be a high grade vintage card or it be a, one of one or whatever, whatever that is. And because there's so many different types of cards too, to where I know Dan, the card man's a big soccer card guy. I'm sure for him, there's specific cards that you just doesn't see that often, to where, for those, you might have to pay past the last comp. You're not getting that. You might not be getting that at 70% of the last comp or whatever.
And if it's a card that's so rare, I mean, what is even the comp, right? There might not even be a comp. It's the comp's going to be established. And even still, usually a comp is you're taking multiple recent sales of an item and averaging them together. If there's only one sale of something, it still doesn't necessarily establish a comp. Somebody can be like, yeah, the last one sold for $1,000. You're like, yeah, well, this was the last one that sold. So if you want it, you're going to have to pay more. You're going to reestablish a new comp on it.
Dan right here is making reference to that Stranger Things card. And that's another thing that I kind of like about collecting Stranger Things is he's actually right, to where, like with, Bowman Chrome sports cards, you have literally all these people are chasing it. All these people, whether it be, 18-year-olds all the way up to 80-year-olds are buying, they're buying that stuff, in baseball prospects and all that. But Stranger Things, nobody gives a damn about that stuff. So it could literally be, it could be a kid in Japan that has that card, a one of one, whatever, under his bed, in a shoebox or something, because there's just not the same sort of demand or chase for it.
Well, some of these comments are funny. Wander Franco one is funny. I think, where are you at? I got to scroll all the way up to find what comment.
Brian's buying Bitcoin or Bitcoin and gold. The fiat is getting.
There you are. 9:52. Okay, we're 10 minutes. We're closing the gap.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm not getting too far behind.
Closing the gap.
I don't know if this is true, Orlando. Flippers. Well, so repackers. I don't know if repackers are going anywhere. You talk about what was it, Steve, at the National Hip Parade? I know I keep talking about it, but they were paying out like 85%, 90% comps for repack products. I mean, and again, like I was shocked at how much demand there is for repack products. And I don't know if it's a shift from breaks to where people are like, you know what? I don't really want to put $50 or $100 into a break spot. I would rather just buy a repack. And then I know I get, whatever out of it, I'm totally guessing, but it was shocking. You could get more from the repack folks than, as far as.
And what's funny is wonder what percentage of cards that are being sold back to repackers were pulled out of breaks.
It's just it's like
and it's just like a recycling until that actual card lands with its home. And that could take a while. It could be bought, pulled out of a repack, sold back to a repacker, put into a repack. So it could just be recycled over and over again.
Here's the problem though, Steve. How many orphaned cards are out there that don't really have a home, that don't have a home to go to?
The island of misfit toys.
We're getting really dark here now. But think about all the cards that have been graded where it's just like, man, I graded these 20 cards. I got 3 PSA 10s out of it. That made it worth my while. But the other 8s and 9s, I don't care about those. And they just go off into the universe and they just get recycled around. That's sad.
I mean, I know at the National, I sold a stack of cards to a buyer for pool wax that was buying for repacks, and I got good comp on it. I got higher comp than I would have gotten anywhere else. Even if I would have sold them on eBay after fees, it was just made sense.
Yep.
So yeah, a lot of cards that I had.
If you think about that, you walk into a show and you can just get cash right up. Basically you can get not exactly, but maybe what you would get on eBay or even better potentially, and you just get cash there to spend at the show, as opposed to having to do all the shipping and all the rest of it. I think that's what a lot of people are doing. Maybe I'm just way behind, and that very well could be the case as far as the strategy goes.
Now, and I sold nice cards. So those were some nice cards that were going into repacks. Now it is all price point relative, and you got to be able to trust the person. I mean, that kind of goes with any kind of dealing, or especially any kind of breaking, any kind of repacking. Now, and you're going to have your bad and your good, probably more bad than good, but
damn you, wet wipe. Bye, Felicia. Person turquoise waving. Okay. Oh, damn it. Now I'm 12 minutes behind. That's a good way to look at it, Steve. Never thought of it through that lens. Chantilly's bigger auto. However, Philly seems to always have Philly signers, and Ruben is a Philly fan. Yeah, I mean, I get the overall point. That makes sense that he would.
Oh, gotcha. I see.
To support his guys. That makes sense. Pepino Man. I need to hook up with Pepino Man. I haven't talked to him in a little bit.
50% of the hobby are flippers. Now, definition of flipper, because I would probably say it's a bigger percentage, but I don't mean that in a way that that's all they do. I mean that in a way as in, if you're buying and selling, does that make you a flipper? If you're buying across the table from somebody and you're putting in your showcase at a show and you're reselling it, does that make you a flipper? If you're buying a collection off somebody and piecing it out in your LCS, at your brick and mortar, does that make you a flipper? I mean,
you trade a card?
Buying something.
Are you flipping that card?
Right. Buying a card and selling it for a profit is business. And so a lot of times there are labels that go out, flip, this is a flipper, or this is a dealer, this is that. But I mean, in essence, we're all kind of like doing the same thing. I don't think that any of it's a bad term. I don't think flipping's a bad, some people don't like that term. I don't mind it. I mean, look at my damn YouTube name. Oh, I've been hexed with this name. But anyway,
hexed.
Yeah. But yeah, and it's all necessary because collectors need to get or want cards, and then they got to be able to buy them somewhere. They don't just like show up. And unfortunately, everybody just can't pull the cards out of packs that they want.
I'll say to Orlando, with all newer collectors only want graded cards. I feel intimidated, especially like at the National, when I walk up to a vintage booth and they're selling graded cards and raw cards, which is basically every booth that's at the. I'm just using the National as an example. You could use Philly Card Show as well. These are seasoned vintage dealers that have been at it for 20 years. So I'm almost kind of like thinking, why am I buying the raw copy? Especially for vintage, I'd rather just buy something that's, if they grade cards, they've been grading cards for decades. I'm not gonna buy a card that's a 3 and then graded and it's a 7 or something, or
Right.
And honestly, too, I can understand why people would go to a graded card, especially from one of the big 4 grading companies. Because if we go back, and Steve, you know this, go back to 1990, where you're literally like 10 years old, like I was, just scrapping with a dealer. fighting over the fact that, oh, it's near mint. No, it's mint. It's mint. It's,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, or it's fair condition. Basically you just were at the whim of whatever the dealer said it was, and you kind of haggle it out. But you're still.
I remember back in the day, if I was a kid, if it had good corners, it didn't have any creases, it was mint. Nobody cared about centering. Nobody cared about
that's true
certain things.
Yep.
But that that's when I was,
it was all about corner.
That's the way that it was. And to touch on the vintage thing, I'm not experienced enough to go buy raw vintage cards, and I would be scared just because I wouldn't know what is altered, what isn't.
Or fake or whatever.
Right. I'm not like Ryan from Breakout Cards who can really go out and pick out a lot of that stuff. And like you said, most vintage dealers that I deal with, they know what they have. They're going to sell their raw card based on what they think the graded value of that card is. It's not like I'm going to be able to get, like a PSA 5 at PSA 3 price and then grade it into a 5. If they think that it's a 5, they're going to have the tag on there, and they know better than me, especially when it comes to vintage cards.
Yep. Rugged Brad is missed. He does look a little rugged. I will say he's aged since he left his card life. We were keeping him young. Now he's just getting beaten down by Los Angeles, sadly.
Right.
All right.
There's at 10 p.m. cardboard heel.
There's some funny comments that I can't read. People have seen prices in their cards come way down over the last 3 years. Why would people with common sense invest money if they know the end game? Isn't that like touching a hot stove twice? But here's the thing is, it's like, it's funny to me when you go back, if you go back a few years, don't you remember, all these people would say like, hey, it's easy. You buy low and you sell high. You buy low and you sell high. And it was like, oh, well, hell, all I have to do is just buy low and sell high. Well, that's so easy. But now it's like prices go down, you don't buy, but then prices go up. Do you see what I mean? Like, you see the cycle?
Yeah.
Now, granted, we did just come off of the Mount Everest, stimulus, all the crazy in the hobby. So I'm not trying to pretend like, we're going to go back to that or anything. I really don't feel that we are, but I don't know with this comment, it's like, maybe if expectations are, if you're buying for that next Mount Everest, then maybe that's not a great strategy. But if you're buying thinking like, okay, like prices have corrected down to like pre-pandemic, price points for certain cards, or like what you were saying, Steve, there's really rare stuff that's coming out of the woodwork that I haven't seen in 2 years. I mean, I don't know. I guess it just depends on how you look at it, but.
Well, if you bought cards 3 years ago, then yes, you've seen the value of your cards come down. If you bought cards last month, you probably haven't seen the value of your cards come down. Prices were highly inflated. People always say you don't buy at the peaks. So if people were buying at peaks, the peak is generated from a valley. You can't have one without the other. If not, you just have a straight line going up all the time. So again, you're looking at 3 years, 2020, which was just a crazy thing in the hobby, where, history record prices were being made. Not the best year of all. I mean, not the best cards have been in the last 5 years, not the best that have been in the last 20 years, not the best the cards have been in the last month. The best the card market had ever seen in the lifetime of cards.
Yep.
Was 2020. Okay, so cards are going to have come down since then. Should people pay 2020 prices for cards now in 2023? No, they shouldn't, because they have come down. When you buy low and when you buy when stuff is down, typically there's not a lot more room for stuff to go down. Now, if you're still buying cards that are overpriced, there's still some dealers trying to squeeze every ounce of blood out of a card that they can get because they're upside down on it. But if you buy right, if you buy smart, you don't overpay, you limit this risk of, can't touch the stove twice. Like if the stove is turned off, it's not going to burn me, right? I can touch a stove that's not on, that has no fire in it. Okay, so if the cards are, so that's what I'm saying. There's no risk touching a stove with no fire in it. So the lower the risk, the less chance you're going to take of taking big losses. And if you're buying to collect, like I said earlier, some stuff is down. It's a good time to find some cards that you want for your collection.
I think about too, like there's certain Tom Brady cards that during the height, like there's a couple of examples that were $1,200, $1,300. They were way. I mean, well, we say overpriced. They were inflated. Now I'm buying them at $300, $350. And you might say, well, if it's going to continue to go down, then why bother? If these same cards, if more copies came up and they were 150 or they were 200 or they were 100, I would just buy more copies of the same card because I really like the card and I like the card over an extended period of time. It also depends too on what's your time horizon. I mean, if it is to buy and sell over the weekend or in 2 weeks or in a month, then maybe no, for certain cards, but it also just depends on what your time horizon is and what your game plan is. So I don't know, but everyone's entitled to, to do whatever they want. Obviously. I mean, no one's saying go out and, spend it all on cards. I think for Steve and I, we're paying the bills first. We're putting, money away for retirement, paying extra on the mortgage. We're like doing all the extra. And then
I'm trying to find the comment you got pulled up so I can see what time frame we're on, and we don't have one pulled up, so I'm just scrolling.
We're at 10. It's just a labyrinth of comments.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, we're at 10 o'clock. All right, that's right. I'm saying 10 o'clock.
Ziggy's got a couple other ones there that are good that I could talk on.
All right, he's fired off about 27 comments in the last 30 seconds, so you'll have to holler it out. No offense there, Zig, but
he said he doesn't buy graded cards. The one at 10:08 I saw. About adding value to it.
I mean, if you're talking about chasing like new players and all that stuff, that's but that's old hat. That's kind of like what everybody knows. I assume. Yeah. Like, I mean, that gets talked into oblivion, but people are going to prospect and chase. That's just part of, and maybe that's just part of their fun. I mean, that's totally fine.
I mean, I could walk into a casino with $100 and put it in a blackjack spot. My chances of winning are 40%. Right, 60% house advantage or 20% house advantage is 60-40 for the house on blackjack. And I'm going to win even money. Okay, so that's where the house edge is at. They don't pay you $6 for every $4 that you bet, right? They don't give you $60 for your $40 bet. They give you only do that if you get a blackjack.
Yeah.
So they give you even money for 60-40 odds.
And I understand this, Zig. I understand what it is. I know that they're paying 85 because they're making more than the recent comp. I get it. I totally understand how they make money. The part I don't understand is the demand for those products. That's the part that I understand that there's demand, but the amount of demand where these companies are spending the kind of money that they're putting down, that they're dropping at shows to put, this inventory. It's just unbelievable to me that there's buyers on the back end for that. I understand why people are selling to them. I don't understand the buying on the other side. That's
where the business that the repackers are getting.
Yeah. That's the part I don't get it.
Yeah. I when they were like, we give you 80 to 85% depending on the card. I was like, hey, I got some stuff you can look at. So
now, is it people? Do you think it's people that where like, hobby boxes have tripled in price from 5 years ago? Just new product is so damn expensive. They're like, hell, I would rather just buy repack stuff from a reputable, from a David Adams or whatever, from a Hit Parade, where it's like, I know I'm going to get something good out of here. I might not get the Babe Ruth cut auto big chase out of the repack product or whatever, but I know that I'll get some value. Whereas with a lot of new product, you might open a $500 hobby box and just get junk out of it. I mean, do you think that's part of? Do you think that's what it is?
Yeah, I think if repacks are affordable, you still have the thrill of a chase. If you're trusting that the repacker is putting the chase card in the product, and it's attainable for everyone equally. And so you're still getting the thrill of the chase card. That's what you're doing when you're buying into a break and you're getting to choose your team, or you're getting a random team. You may get a team you don't even like. You may pick a team because you think it has investment value in that team. It may not be your favorite team. I don't know. I don't do breaks. I'm not against breaking. I just haven't done it. And I don't buy repacks either. I'm not against repacks or breaking if it's done right and it's done fair and it's done at a good price where the consumer can get a value. And if they're finding value, then that would make sense why they're paying. Now, I don't know if they're buying repack envelopes or whatever for false hopes or not, because I'm not saying who you can and who you can't trust when it comes to buying your repacks or knowing you're breaking. I don't have enough experience to speak on it. But, if I was to be like, oh, I have $100 to spend on cards this month, do I want to go and find myself a single on eBay? Do I want to gamble my $100 this month and buy a repack and get a chance at getting a chase card in there? And if I don't get the chase card, at least I get something where I can recoup some of my value. Everybody has a different mentality. So we're sitting here saying we don't understand where the customers are at, but they're obviously there. They're just probably, they obviously just think a little bit different than us or spend their money differently than we do.
It's funny too. Brendan's talking about food fractors, Taco Fractor, where you can win the $15,000 worth of Taco Bell or Lifetime or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But isn't that kind of funny? Where you remember going back, like there was a lot of talk with NFTs about building out utility. It was like own this NFT and then you get this utility on the back end. And literally, that's exactly what they're doing with cards. Like now, it's pull this card and get $15,000 worth of Taco Bell. Pull this card and Mookie Betts will follow you on Instagram. Different added utility things. Pull this card. I'm sure it's going to be pull this card and you can sit behind home plate, at a game. All that stuff is coming. They're going to tie all that together. The redemption, that's going to be the new redemption.
Man, I relate a lot of stuff to the casino or to gambling because I work in a casino. So if I was to compare repacks to something, I would probably say like scratch off lottery tickets. Or if you buy $100 worth of scratch off lottery tickets, more than likely you're probably going to win like $5 to $10, right? You might win $1 here or there, $5 on a ticket or something. But you are buying those lottery tickets with the chance of winning the 10 grand prize, right? The $10,000 prize on your $5 scratch off. And you go into it knowing that your odds of winning it are not very good. But I guess there's a little bit of an adrenaline rush you get from that. So it's, like I said, it's going to be different for every individual.
Scratch and sniff cards, Kyle's.
Scratch them.
For it. Man, I remember those from childhood, like the scratch and sniff stuff. That was all the rage. That and Kool-Aid points. Maybe we can get some Kool-Aid points out of
Kool-Aid points. You'll see, even a casino will give you free comps if you spend enough money.
There you go. The casino will even give you Kool-Aid points.
It will give you a place to stay and some food to eat so that you can lose more money.
Yeah, Kenny really nailed this here. The market's cooled off, and now there's a lot of cards that, they were $1,000. Now they're $300. They were $500. Mm-hmm. Now they're $200. I mean, like there's a lot of stuff where you're like, I'm not buying that. There's no way I'd buy it. Now all of a sudden you're in the game on some of this stuff, which is fun.
Yeah, but okay, but still, again, what I was talking about earlier is that even at the height of the market, I wasn't finding these cards for sale. So I don't know what some of these cards would have even been worth in 2020 as opposed to what they're selling for now.
Yeah, but I mean, yes, you were looking for these, but I also think just because it was a frothy kind of flipping environment. I mean, look, we were buying like Mitchell Robinson cards. I've used this as an example, but anybody could use this. Mitchell Robinson for the Knicks. You can literally like buy his stuff, sell his stuff, like pick a player in the NBA. Everybody was speculating on some, Jaren Jackson. Like pick a player in the NBA, DeAndre Ayton, and people were speculating on it.
And with a lot of those players, it really only worked in a very short, impulsive amount of time, which made star stock viable because you were able to get the cards without shipping them, without any kind of weight, without anything. It literally made it like pulling up my phone and doing day trading with stocks, but it was with cards. I could buy in 30 seconds and have them sold within 30 seconds.
So were you spending a lot of time looking for Kevin Costner autographs? I would think you were probably looking, maybe somewhat, but you were probably thinking like, okay, I need to pay attention so I can just turn and burn, because that's what the was.
I search Allen and Ginter autographs every night.
I'm talking about going back to 2020. I'm not talking about now, Steve. I do the same thing. I'm
Oh yeah, I've been searching because that's what I collect. So the Allen and Ginter autos have been coming out since like 2006 or 7. And yeah,
so you've been PCing those, is what you're saying from the start.
well, I don't just PC. You know what I mean? I'm not like I got to buy up every Allen and Ginter auto. There are certain ones that I want because they're not as many sports players, but they're the sports players with some sort of personality, whether that be an actor or a singer or a comedian or something that I can relate to, or that I like, that I'm a fan of. So I search all the time because I didn't even know what cards were out there. I am a Kevin Costner fan. I'm a huge Bull Durham fan. And he does have an autograph card in the 2016 Topps Archives Bull Durham set, which we talked about. So we don't have to waste a lot of time on it. This Allen Ginter card, I've been searching. I do a search on Allen and Ginter every night and probably at least 2 times a day, always before I go to bed, to see what comes up for sale. And this was the first time I ever seen this card. I didn't even know this card existed. I only knew this card existed because it finally came up for sale. And as someone who has been running that search for the last couple of years, and not seeing this card, to finally see this card that I didn't even know existed, lets me know that there's not a lot of them out there, or that are accessible. You know, the same thing happened with the Stephen King card that I bought in the airport when I left the National. One of those popped up for sale. I don't know why they don't pop up for sale that much. The pack odds on them is like 1 in 5,000. And it's a Stephen King Goodwin Champion autograph. They never hardly come up for sale, like ever. They're so hard to get, and the people that have them, they want to keep them.
So Massive Medic coming in with kind of like the rebuttal to a repack, because people get such crap during breaks. The repacks promise 1 hit during the break. So I guess you're saying repacks promise 1 hit, whereas the break, I guess, doesn't promise the hit. Is that what you're saying, Massive Medic? Just trying to comment.
Well, I mean, if you buy into a break and you get a team and nothing gets pulled for your team, you get nothing.
Right. You get base cards or whatever. Whereas the repack, that maybe there's 1 big hit or something out of the repack.
Well, I think all the cards are somewhat of a hit. So say, I don't know what the repack prices are. So I'm just going to throw some numbers out there. Say, for instance, a repack product is $200. There may be cards anywhere that range from $50 to $5,000. You know, so because the repackers have to make their money. So there are going to be cards that lose the buyer value, that lose them money, but at least they're getting something. And then there's going to be cards that actually are going to be like, oh, wow, this card is worth more than what I paid for the repack. So you're going to have some people paying for the benefit of others, or some people are going to do better, some people are going to do bad. The repacker has no risk. All the risk is on the buyers. But if you're a buyer going into that, isn't it a risk to basically buy any sports card unless you just don't care about the value of it and you're PCing it? It's a risk to buy a pack. It's a risk to buy into a break. It's a risk to prospect on a single.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of the same.
Hell, it's even, it's a risk buying into established players too. You know what I mean? Like, just depending on price point, depending on when you get in on something or whatever, it's all, it's all the same. But you know what? Holding cash can be a risk. I mean, buying into real estate can be a risk. Like, obviously, I'm not saying that cards and real estate are the same, but I also know a lot of people that have gotten hammered in real estate. I mean, like, it's not all like there's risk everywhere, friends, is I guess the main point. It's everywhere. And we're in a really weird Mike Betty. Who the hell is Mitchell Robertson? Oh, it's awesome. Oh. Man, Wet Wipes is always being so nasty. He just coming hard on Steve. He's coming hard on you.
Of your PC bed if you
Wet Wipes. Jesus, man.
Always. I don't know what does Wet Wipes collect. I mean, his name is Wet Wipes, man, with all caps.
Next week he's gonna log in as Baby Swing
with the upside down mosaic symbol.
Next week
it's okay. We need Wet Wipes. We need comments.
Next week it'll be dirty. Next week it'll be dirty diapers instead of Wet Wipes.
Right.
All right. Mike Petty, not a fan of either breaks or repacks, made that clear. Crazy Kev, similar feelings.
Oh man, we're way back. At 10:17, Ziggy's getting heated. I don't want Ziggy to get heated. I want us to be able to talk about what he's talking about and figure out where we meet and where we have.
No, I think Ziggy gets heated about repacks. So I'm sure.
Yeah, I know he doesn't. I know he doesn't like repacks. Now he doesn't like repacks, but is it because there's so much shade that can go on with repacks? Because I understand that side of it.
Wet Wipes, I want to check out Wet Wipes' channel because this guy has it all figured out. This guy or gal or whoever this is.
No, I don't need to watch his channel.
He's got whoever this is has got this thing all figured out. So show us, please. Like direct us.
It's probably a burner account anyway.
Probably. Is this John? It's like,
no.
Oh man. So I asked you, so the thing that confused me with AIH, and I know what you're talking about because he put out a video this morning, but he had put out a video a couple of days ago talking about how interest rates are going to fall, and he actually was bullish on carts. So I was a little bit confused. So what AIH said in response, Raul said that in the short run, this is why this stuff is also damn confusing, folks, is that nobody really knows, me, you, or anybody else. But what he was saying is just in the short run, he feels like interest rates, because there's a lot of talk about they're going to chill out on interest rates, probably drop it, a point or something like that. They're still going to stay up positive probably, but they're going to relax over the next 6 months. That's what all the talk is about. Whether they actually do that or not, who knows? So he was saying that in the short run, probably be okay, maybe like in the next 6 months. But then at the end of 2024, everyone's got their prediction on stuff, that there would be like a recession towards the end of 2024. But, honestly, if you're going based off of, all of the potential recession and this and that or whatever, then you'll just never do anything, if we're being honest. And I'm not saying it's the best time to open a card store. Maybe it's the worst time. Maybe it's the best time. Nobody really knows. I mean, honestly. So I don't know, but I think we've been talking about heavy duty depression for a while. And I kind of personally think that we've been in it, even though the government and the news hasn't necessarily reported it that way. I feel like we've been in kind of a lull for a good bit now, regardless of what, jobs numbers look like and get some of this other data that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense based on what I'm actually seeing with my own eyes. But that's just me. There you go, Kev.
Oh, yeah, you will. Yeah, you will.
Yeah, you'll probably lose.
You just won't feel bad about it.
Yeah, there you go.
You just won't feel as bad about it.
You might lose some. Hey, guess what? I go out and I play golf with my buddies, and sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, but that money's gone. Like that money is gone. It's not, I've got nothing to show for it other than I lost in golf. So. All right. Well, I'm at the end of the comments. Between Mike Petty and Wet Wipes, we need some new entrants.
Well, you really had to skip a lot.
Yeah,
I have to get with Ziggy sometime to talk about repacks because I see the good and the bad, and I know he hates them. And I can, I respect everybody's opinion on it.
I think he had a bad experience, if I remember correctly. But honestly, I don't really know. It's pretty easy to have a bad experience with anything, whether it be a repack or a break or buying a single or whatever. I mean, like, you're not like, there's going to be a bad experience somewhere along the way. I think we can all agree on that. All right. Well, hey, I'm not behind on chat, so maybe this is a time to wrap. We're about 90 minutes in. I think this is pretty good. Wet Wipes had a great time.
I just got to his comment where he said, I haven't bought, sold, or traded a card recently.
Yeah, Dirty Diaper.
He obviously doesn't follow anything. He obviously missed the first. He missed the first portion of the. Missed the first portion of the. Missed the first portion of the live stream, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we kept you in here. We didn't block you.
It's all right. It's all right. They don't know any better. He's a good little chap.
Yeah. All right, Orlando. Good seeing everybody. I think we'll probably wrap it. So 2 weeks from now, assuming that Neo makes it back from New York ComicCon in one piece and gets out of that Wolverine suit. I don't know. That might be permanent, that Wolverine suit. Let's actually flash it one more time. Our guy, hopefully he's having a good time.
Where is he?
There we go. This is actually a few years back when he met Stan Lee.
He needs the Wolverine healing powers after that fantasy beatdown he got last week. So I think that after if and it's pretty good probability, but if I beat you in fantasy this week, I think we should live stream next week.
Man, I can't afford to lose this week, Steve. So you need to start pulling players. Just sideline.
What's your record?
I'm 1-4, so I need to get on a nice.
If you were 2-3, I was going to be like, okay, maybe I can give you that. But if you're 1-4, I can't take that loss.
I think I'm going to string some together here. I'm actually feeling pretty good.
I'm 4-1. So I beat you. I go to 5-1.
I've kind of lulled everybody into a little bit of a coma, and I'm about to break out. So I'm excited to get on a good streak.
You probably will. It'll probably be your players have been underperforming, and then there's always a boom week where the underperforming players all have a big week, and then they go back into hibernation for a couple weeks. So I'll probably catch you at that time.
We'll see. We'll see. All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks for joining us for another Off Centered. We will catch you on the next one. See you later.